As the sun sets, the coffin lids rise, and the creatures of the night awake. We greet you. This is the Mourning Show.
Morgan.
Friend,
Oh, go ahead.
did I cut out?
You weren't even talking. Go ahead.
I was. Okay. So you didn't hear any of what I said?
None of it.
Nope.
Okay. Greetings, Darklings. Here at the Morning Show, we strive to bring you the latest news, music, product, and entertainment reviews, travel, cuisine, and interviews with the people you loathe the most. But first, to see what the night shall bring, we go to our local lunatic, Witch Hazel.
So, what's the foreshadowing forecast?
The lunar phase for Friday, the 19th of September, 2014, is a waning crescent. The moon is in the zodiac sign of Leo the lion.
Again, the Leos. I love them.
They love themselves, too.
Yes, they do love themselves. Well, let's see what is in the morning news.
The British Library's Terror and Wonder. The Gothic... hold on, let me start over. Okay. So, the British Library's Terror and Wonder, the Gothic Imagination exhibit, is being billed as the UK's biggest ever Gothic show. Now, it's opening next month. The show takes in 250 years of the Gothic literature, pinpointing its beginning as Horace Walpole's self-proclaimed 1964 Gothic novel, The Castle of Otranto. I would like to point out I hate this novel. I think it is What?
You said the wrong year.
What did you say, Morgan?
You said the wrong year.
17. What year did I say?
You said 1964.
Oh, goody. Right, the TARDIS is talking to me right now, so you'll got to give me a minute. Opening next month, the show takes in 250 years. I'm not kidding, man. I'm really high on my allergy pills right now, so my apologies if I go a little off.
Okay.
So opening next month, the show takes in about 250 years of the Gothic history, pinpointing its beginning as Horace Walpole's self-proclaimed 1764 Gothic novel, The Castle of Otranto. I do not like this novel. I want to point that out. I think Horace Walpole is actually an incredibly dry writer, but most early Gothic writers were. Now,
I would just like to say I love old Gothic novels. That being said, from what I know of Horace Walpole, he would agree with you about his own writing.
He did. He thought he was very well. He was a playwright originally, so. But but it is charting the genre's evolution to today's, more broad interpretation of Gothic and Goth subculture. It does. I mean, the exhibit begins and ends with an abstract interpretation of Walpole's personal Strawberry Hill Library, which was also the site of his home, and which was the genesis for later Gothic revival architecture. Now, the library and Walpole's neo-Gothic surroundings provide him with inspiration for the novel, and also had a major influence on shaping the Gothic genre. And this section of the exhibition is slightly raised, and so frame views, let me try that again. This section of the This section of the exhibition is slightly raised, and so frames views across the exhibition to give a sense of the permeation of the genre and the recurrence of leitmotifs throughout its history. Now, the main room is designed to show the evolving Gothic setting from grand ruin, the natural landscape, and urban decay, to the human mind and body. Now, these themes have been interpreted by enveloping the space in a series of black and dark gray structures, textures and surfaces with colors only found on the fabric case linings and the objects on display. And I love how they're really kind of pulling in every sense. I love when they do that with these kind of exhibits. Although the exhibition tells the chronological development of the Gothic literary journey, the idea of permeation of the genre is again reinforced by, well, I can't say that word today. By the use of transparent voile. Listeners, Lena is having allergy problems and is on some wonderful medication. But so if I mess up, I just want to say I'm sorry.
I've never.
Which stretches across this.
Could you tell me what?
I don't even know how to say it.
Yeah, VOILE.
Voila.
Well, transparent fabric. Let's go that way, man.
Yeah, transparent fabric. We'll go with that. I should know that. I sew. Which stretches across a set of piers and buttresses to enclose a central cloister-like space. Now, Tuhi's fabric gives obscured views between the various sections, creating a heightened sense of anticipation, and it reinforces the idea of the sections' interrelationship and interdependence. Now, Gothic motifs and devices, including threshold and tracery, are abstracted, and they used to lead visitors through the exhibition and frame views back and forth. Now, meanwhile, you've got black painted walls, black muslin, and heavy felt are, they're overlaid with lighting and projection to create an environment where shadow can be exaggerated, which is, once again, you're dealing with all of these really amazing, just incorporating all of the senses. Now, these patterns are further animated by the movement of the visitors as they pass through the exhibition. The lighting scheme helps to exaggerate the shadows of visitors so that their presence is ambiguous and you might not know whether they form part of the exhibition or not. The exhibition concludes with a photographic exhibition by Martin Parr, who has captured Whitby Gothic weekend. The images have been staked to the walls using horseshoe nails, and a light material palette complements the ghostly and pallid photos. Now, this exhibit does open, it opens on October 3rd. Wish I was in England so I could see it. It sounds absolutely amazing. I'm not able to. I'm in Phoenix, sitting here seizing my head off to Palo Verde plants. But it actually, that is one of the things I do appreciate, regardless of the dry writing, the trite characters of early Gothic literature, and even modern Gothic literature. There was that sense of kind of trying, and that was a big part of the early Gothic literature, was trying to get you to really be able to invoke everything in your senses: the feeling of decay, the smell of the musty graves, the feel of the velvet and damask. And I mean, those kind of interpretations and descriptions were a big part of it. So so while I have taken more than one Gothic literature course, I have had to I've had to go in depth and write, 5, 6, 7-page papers on the Castle of Otranto, or the Monk, or the Italian. I definitely take kind of a Mansfield Park attitude towards it, where early Gothic literature is great for the drama, but you always got to kind of step back from it and view it for just how ridiculous it can be sometimes. I definitely do want to I would love to go to this exhibit, and I wish I could. So.
Yeah, I would love to go to it, especially because I love Gothic literature. Unlike you, I don't find it dry. I find it enveloping, which you also mentioned that is. So I find weird that can be enveloping and dry, but whatever.
It's a perfect story. There is no such thing as a perfect story, so you're always going to have something. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, I love early Gothic literature. Castle of Otranto, it's not the best Gothic novel ever written. It was an early example, and of course it wasn't during.
It was the first one.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
And yeah, well, you can tell that. Sorry, go ahead, Jack.
Well, but see, there's also the fact I try not to say where something was the first or not, because the thing is that usually figuring out what was the first is not as linear as what we like to believe, It's like saying
Wobbly, timey-wimey.
Yeah, no, not like that. No, but it's saying, well, Goth didn't exist until Bauhaus squared Bela Lugosi's dead. But Susie performed years before that, So, you know what I mean? And so, to say, well, it was the first Gothic novel. I understand that's usually considered that way. That's not to say that there were other examples before that could be classified as.
From an academic literary standpoint, it is the first story to have all of the requirements of a Gothic novel plot.
Yeah, well, and also, as you know, it was a self-proclaimed Gothic novel. He actually called it a Gothic novel, right in the subtitle. But
Yeah.
I like to be a little bit more open on what defines Gothic, and so for me, I'll put it this way: I don't know of any Gothic novels that came before it, but if all of a sudden one was discovered, I wouldn't deny it.
Well, there were short stories, and there were, there were shorter stories that sometimes would consider to be falling into the genre. There were even, parts, going into this in our, the Gothic literature courses that I've taken, the elements of this story, the elements did show up as smaller subplots in other novels and books and things like that. But this was the first one to take them all and make them the entire story. So it's not that they didn't show up before. It's that they were always subplots. They were smaller parts of something larger. Where this was the first time that subplot was the plot. So.
And I'm not arguing with you. If I'm arguing with anyone, it's maybe academics of it. In that, well, like for instance, let's take Titus Andronicus by William Shakespeare. That one, it had blood, it had betrayal, it had haunting things. People eating pies made of people. It had all that stuff.
Yes.
One of the main characters, Queen of the Goths. To me, I mean, that's not a novel, mind you, it's a play, but it's really darn Gothic.
Oh, no, of course. But I mean, Walpole was a playwright. So a lot of these elements existed in the theater, but it's easier to get that kind of drama across when someone's portraying it. It's harder to do with words. So that's why I think we're Walpole. I mean that's where the dryness can sometimes come across in a lot of the early and even modern and Gothic literature. But of course you're also dealing with the time period. One of the things a lot of people don't really like to acknowledge about the Gothic writers of the 18th and 19th centuries is that they were paid by word. So that's part of the reason the language is so overflowery. It's part of the reason you have so many descriptors, because the more they put in, the more they got paid. And I mean, like Morgan right now, I finally got her to listen to Dracula. She won't read it, but she listens to the audiobook.
And they go on for pages about the peasant's clothing and about the little marks on Lucy's neck and just all of the spookiness of the castle and the locked rooms, and they just go on and on about it.
Yeah, it's very. You think it's obnoxious to hear it? Imagine reading it, and then writing a book report on it. I mean, it is so.
When it comes to reading Gothic literature, since I've gotten myself more mentally stable on psych meds, I don't have the attention span for reading like I once did.
So yeah, you're not able, and that's the thing. You have to have an attention span. It took me forever to get through Toronto. I had to sit down. I mean, it's not a long novel. It's only like 130 pages. It's actually very short. I mean, but it is most early Gothic literature. I mean, after reading it, you'll find out, oh, that was interesting. That was creative. But once again, you are dealing with a situation where the writers were paid per word. So everything, excuse me. So you're dealing with a situation where everything had to be overflowery. Everything had to be, they had, you can't just define the curtains as red. You have to define. Hold on, I have to get drink water. Excuse me. You have to define
them as crimson, like the blood spilling out of someone's throat.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we love to talk about that drama now, but the truth is that it was a financial thing. Hello?
Yeah.
Jack, are you there?
I love that. I guess I wish that writers were still paid like that because I love that talk and that hyper descriptive language.
And it has
I
its
find it to be
place.
tedious.
Well, you see, but that's the thing. It has its place. I mean, it doesn't work in every genre of literature, but it has its place in the Gothic literature, and I think that's. I mean, Mary Shelley did the same thing. Mary Shelley did the same thing. Obviously Bram Stoker did. Walpole. They all. You read The Monk. You read The Italian. You read. The Vampire by John Polidori. You read Carmilla. I mean, all of them are overly flowery, over the top, descriptions. So, but that goes with the genre and the fact that these people got paid per word. But it's very interesting, and Poe's the same way. Poe is very much the same way. He was very overly descriptive. So.
But yeah, so to close this out, go ahead, then.
Okay, I was gonna say I think that partly the overly floweriness of it, the fact that they use so many words to describe the same thing, creates that like retreating into the shadows feel that lends itself to the Gothic subculture so well.
What do you mean?
I agree.
So
yes, I absolutely agree. And
it's the fact that the Gothic subculture in and of itself is a highly intelligent subculture. And so to say the chair is red, instead of saying the chair is this beautiful scarlet,
the chair is deep crimson velvet, yeah.
Yeah. Instead of saying it that way, I mean, saying it the latter way makes it sound so much more. It gives you so much more.
Mhm. It lets you experience it more.
It pushes it. It pushes you. It pushes the boundaries. It pushes you over the top, which is something that you don't get in being a normie or being in the mainstream subculture or the mainstream popular culture.
Yes, I agree with that.
Absolutely. So, can I close this up now, guys? That bit?
Yeah, sir. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So, yeah, this sounds like a really, really great exhibit. All of us, regardless of whether we like Gothic novels or not, are really, really interested in going, but of course we don't live anywhere near it. So for all of you very, very lucky goths who live in Britain, I hope you guys good, and I hope you guys have a lot of fun. What did you get on me? My news story.
Okay.
Several months ago, we reported on Universal Studios adding the Harry Potter-themed Diagon Alley attraction. However, we have recently been made aware that that addition shall come at a high price. The huge expansion and redevelopment at Universal City and Universal Studios is going to require the demolition of one of the oldest sound stages on the lot, the famed and legendary Stage 20, created for the original 1925 silent film, The Phantom of the Opera. Do you guys hear the background noise?
What? We can't hear you.
You sound like you're underwater.
Really bad. Yeah, you really do.
I'm underwater, but the underwater is not coming from me.
What is not what noise?
I heard the underwater, and it's not coming from me. The underwater was coming from somewhere else.
I'm sitting on my bed right now.
I'm sitting in the same spot that I always record in.
Yeah, well, that's probably not the best example to give Morgan, considering the last time we recorded.
I don't know.
Well, no, that underwater sound, I was hearing that coming out of my phone's speaker, like as if it was coming from you guys. So
You just cut out again. We can't hear you.
yeah. No, I'm on a phone. What else can we expect? My connection's not very good tonight either. You know?
Okay.
So, I can begin that again. All right?
Okay.
Yeah, go
Okay.
for it.
All right. Several months ago, we reported on. Play it for me now.
What?
Sounds like someone's doing dishes in one of your guys' ones.
Is that Matt, Jack?
Sweetie,
I mean, Matt. Is that Matt Morgan?
they can hear you crashing around in the kitchen.
I knew he was doing dishes.
Okay, go for
Are
it.
we good?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Several months ago, we reported. Let me try it again. I had the wrong mindset there. Several months ago, we reported on Universal Studios adding the Harry Potter themed Diagon Alley attraction. However, we have However, we have recently been made aware that shall come at a high price. The huge expansion. I hope he's making
Hello?
himself a very lovely sandwich.
What?
Nothing. I'm talking about Matt. The huge, the huge expansion and redevelopment at Universal City and Universal Studios is going to require the demolition of one of the oldest sound stages on the lot, the famed and legendary Stage 28, created for the original 1925 silent film, The Phantom of the Opera. The gorgeous set was built to look like the inside of, of the Paris Opera House. It has since been used in several film and TV productions, including Dracula with Bela Lugosi, The Sting, early modern Melee, and a very meta episode of Knight Rider, investigating a phantom on Stage 28 that's messing up a film shoot in a nod to rumors that the real Stage 28 is haunted by the kid-bearing ghost of Lon Chaney, the original movie Phantom. But all is not lost. The studio plans to preserve the 90-year-old set. The preservation of the set would be a multi-million-dollar effort according to Universal, which is in the process of trying to find a museum organization that will take and house the set. A demolition date for the soundstage hasn't been set yet. By the way, I'm still hearing that water sound in the background from you guys. More of you guys, maybe.
I don't know.
I don't have any water going. Jack, I mean Morgan, do you have?
I don't either. No.
That's right. Well, I'm going to guarantee it's not you. It's not you, Lena. We've had these issues with Morgan's sound in the past. But that water sound was why I was stumbling through that, is because last time I heard that water sound, you guys said you guys couldn't hear anything I said. And so I was worried that you guys couldn't hear me. So that's why you kept hearing me.
I mean, you sounded like you were talking from underwater, like you sounded like we really couldn't hear you. Like it was really bad. But you can always record yours, so if you have.
Yeah, it's okay. But did you guys hear the story enough? Especially you, Leia. Did you hear the story enough to get what I was saying?
Well, I mean, I read it, so I mean, I didn't necessarily. But no, you're gonna. I would suggest re-recording it because it was pretty bad. So.
Okay, well, you guys can comment now then.
Well, I mean, I'm not.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I'm not really. I don't really have a lot to say about it. I do like the old silent films more. I was more into the German surrealism, not so much the American way. And I know that Phantom of the Opera did touch on that, but it wasn't really a big part of it. So.
Well, especially because it
feel
wasn't
like
German.
I feel like it's tearing me between two things I love. I'm a
Yeah.
big Potterhead, but I'm also really big into those old horror movies. Um, and I mean, I think it's because I got that love of those movies from my father. My father would come into my bedroom like in the middle of the night sometimes and make the Wolfman.
You cut out at Wolfman. Morgan?
Her internet might have cut out. She might actually be back later. Who knows?
Okay. We'll give her a minute.
Something modern that I love.
You cut out at Wolfman. Morgan?
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, but you cut out at Wolfman, so you're going to have to
Yes.
repeat like 90% of what you said. Hello?
And it would scare me to death, but it's
You're still cutting out. Hello?
hello?
Yeah, like every few words you would cut out. Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, I don't think she's...
This is a lovely little attempt at a show, though. I
Can
think I'm
you
just
hear me?
grooving like you right.
We can hear you. We
Yeah.
can hear you now.
Oh,
Try it again. Try it again, Morgan.
okay. So what I was saying was, as a little girl, my father would come into my room at night after having watched one of those old horror movies.
Yes,
And
he
you're gone
would.
again.
Hey,
Hello?
whatever you're doing, pass it around, man.
Why don't we move on? Because
Well, I
you're just
want.
cutting out at the exact same spot every time you try to tell the story.
The point that she said was she got to her point, and that she feels torn, between two things that she loves. So she's already stated we already have that.
Okay.
So, but before I move on, I do have a comment that I want to make on this. But do you, Joanna or Lena, have any other comments that you want to make on?
I'm good.
Okay. Well, see, and me, I'm not actually torn between two things I love because I've never seen any of the Harry Potter films. I've never read any of the Harry Potter books. That being said, I love Phantom of the Opera, especially the silent film one, starring Lon Chaney. So I'm not torn between two things I love. I absolutely love Phantom of the Opera. I don't like Harry Potter, so I am devastated. But I'm not too devastated. Here's the reason why. The reason why is because they already said they're not going to demolish it until the set finds a new home. Okay, well then
Yeah.
I'm not actually barred by it at all. I have no problem with it. It's okay with me as long as they don't demolish it, which they've already said they're not going to. They're not going to demolish it. They're going to demolish Stage 28 once that set is removed. And so I don't have a problem with it. And from what I've seen of the Diagon Alley thing, it has a cool fire-breathing dragon in it and wizards, and so I don't mind that either. And so I think it's all good for me, you know.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's. I mean, yeah. I think it's. I mean, it's great that they're trying to preserve it. I mean, in part, because it's such a big part of the history of Universal Studios, it is great that they're trying to preserve it and not just throw it away. Because I far too often that happens. Like the movie Moulin Rouge, all of those sets were destroyed.
Well, but
So
that's a
you
recent,
find out all these amazing. Huh?
but that's a recent movie.
It is, but I mean, you still have to look at the artistic beauty of the sets and the fact that they just chucked them in the dumpster.
Yeah, they do it all the
And
time.
yeah, and to me that just it's like they go through millions of dollars to create these sets and they go through millions of dollars to design them, and then they just throw them away. And so I think that it's really great that they're willing to really push to keep this one, available, keep this one intact. So.
Yeah, and actually, in truth, they don't necessarily throw them away. They usually auction off a lot of stuff.
Well, they do that, but unfortunately, there are times where they just throw it away. They don't have time. They're on a budget. They're running out of time. Someone else needs the sound stage,
Definitely.
and they'll just throw it away.
Yeah.
What?
I said, yeah, that definitely happens.
Mm-hmm. Morgan, are you there at all?
No, she's not. She left.
Yeah.
And the next story is hers. Well, hey, I can get some stuff accomplished. So,
That's fine.
and in upcoming shows, Front 242 will be playing Thursday, September the 25th. Thursday, September the 25th in Tampa, Florida at Orpheum. And Saturday, September 27th in Chicago.
Hello?
Why, guys? Chicago, Illinois at Metro. Hi.
Morgan, are you there?
She just left again.
Yeah.
So, as I'm sure you guys can hear, whenever someone logs in and out, my phone makes very loud sounds that interrupts me. That's why I said, why, guys? Why? Because I was trying to, read something else that we could get things recorded. And my phone just going,
Yeah.
that sound you just heard because she's logging in and out. So I was like, no!
Hello.
Okay, you
Hey.
good? Okay,
I'm
read your
back.
story.
Okay.
Read your story. Yeah, we lost her again.
I don't think we lost her again. I think she's
She's
that
cutting out.
thing where she's cut
Nothing
out.
there.
Well, on the plus side, since you guys both reviewed the album, the music album, and so did I, technically, if she couldn't do the rest of the show tonight, A, we could
Hello.
skip it, and but B, we could also give another night. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you maybe want to try this tomorrow night? You've got like nothing, Jack. Jack Morgan. You keep cutting out really bad. Should we continue tomorrow night, maybe?
It's just
What?
I think doing it another night would be wise.
Well, doing it earlier, because usually her bandwidth has more issues later in the evening.
Yes.
And it's almost 11, so
Yeah,
it's
we
almost
can do.
midnight at her place.
I say we
all
call.
right. We'll call it, and we'll do a little more tomorrow. Okay, Morgan. If you, we're gonna end now. I'll talk to you later. Yeah, she left. All right.
And after you guys leave, she's already left. After you guys leave, before I totally end it, I'm just gonna record a few extra stuff so that so I have just a little bit more on this recording, just of my own stuff that I need to read. Okay?
That's fine. That's fine. All right. Well, I'm gonna let you go. Bye, hon.
Sorry about all the troubles tonight.
No, we'll work it all out tomorrow. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Yeah. That music, it brings great hunger to me. But what could possibly fill this black void? Oh, wait. What were those burgers we mentioned earlier? I think I shall have one of those. Anyway. Now to get to the meat of it, you shall need 3 large red beets, about 1 pound. Sounds painful. Well, it is beaten black burgers. Well, it is beaten black burgers. Anyway, onward. Half a cup black rice uncooked, 1 medium red onion diced, 4 cloves garlic minced, 2 tablespoons cider vinegar, 1/4 cup old-fashioned rolled oats, 4 cups black beans, 1/4 cup prunes, chopped into small pieces, like body parts, 1 tablespoon extra virgin olive oil. Oh, extra virgins. 1 tablespoon smoked paprika, 2 teaspoons brown mustard, 1 teaspoon cumin, 1/2 teaspoon coriander, 1/2 teaspoon dried thyme, and 3 twists freshly ground black pepper, and salt. Heat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Wrap the beets loosely in aluminium foil and roast until easily pierced. With a fork. 60 minutes. Abandon to cool. Meanwhile, bring a 2-quart cauldron of water to a boil. Salt the water generously and add the rice. Reduce the heat to a simmer and cook the rice until it's a little beyond al dente. You want it a little overcooked, but still firm, not completely mushy. This should take about 40 minutes. Drain the rice and abandon to cool. Like a corpse. Heat a teaspoon of olive oil in a skillet over medium-high heat. Add the onions and a pinch of salt. Stir the onions every minute or two and cook until they are golden and getting charred around the edges. 15 minutes. A lucky number. A few wisps of smoke as you're cooking is all right, but if it seems that the onions are burning, lower the heat. A dark, sticky crust should develop on the bottom of the pan. Add the garlic, and cook until it is fragrant, about 30 seconds. Pour in the cider vinegar and scrape up the dark, sticky crust. Continue to simmer until the cider has evaporated and the pan is nearly dry again. Remove from heat and abandon to cool. Like a corpse. Process the oats in a food processor until they have reduced to a fine flour. Transfer to a small bowl and set aside. And abandon. Transfer 2 cups of the beans to the food processor. Scatter the plumes on top. Pulse in 1 second bursts just until the beans are roughly chopped, not so long that they become mush. 8 to 10 pulses. Transfer this mixture to a large mixing bowl. Add the remaining 2 cups of whole beans to the mixing bowl as well. Use the edge of a spoon to scrape the skins off the cooled roasted beets. Yes, scrape the skins off. I promise it will be blood red underneath and bleed. The skins should slip off easily. Ew! Ew! No, wait. That was earlier with the cheese. Grate the peeled beets on the largest holes of a box grater. Transfer the beet gratings to a strainer set over a bowl. Press and squeeze the beet gratings to remove as much liquid blood as possible from the beets. Save the beet blood to drink with the meal. Transfer the squeezed beets, cooked rice, and sautéed onions to the bowl with the beans. Sprinkle the olive oil, brown mustard, smoked paprika, cumin, coriander, thyme, and pepper over the top of the mixture. Mix all the ingredients until combined. Finally, add the oatmeal flour and mix until you no longer see any dry oatmeal. Cover the bowl with plastic wrap and place in the morgue overnight. The next night, remove from the morgue and shape the burger mixture into whatever shape you wish. You could use cookie cutters and make them into pumpkins or bats or ghosts. Yes, yes. Heat a cast iron skillet over high heat. Add a few tablespoons of vegetable oil to completely coat the bottom of the pan. When you see the oil shimmer, a flick of water evaporates on contact. The pan is ready. Transfer the patties to the pan and cook for 2 minutes. Then flip them to the other side and cook for another 2 minutes. Then cover the pan and reduce the heat to medium-low. Cook for 4 minutes until the patties are warmed through. Now you can place your beaten black burgers between your Gothic cheese and black buns. Yes, and then dress it. You can dress a burger with red onions, red Yes, of course you can. With red onions, red leaf lettuce, and tomatoes. Then, while drinking your beet's blood, consume. Lisa Stories, A Vampire Tale. Some people have pumpkin patches. Others have trick-or-treating. But for the Phoenix, Arizona downtown art scene, the fall tradition is Lisa Stories, A Vampire Tale. The Scorpius Dance Theater production The Scorpius Dance Theater production returns for its 11th season, and due to popularity, the company is encouraging dance fans to snap up tickets early. Aptly called the Nutcracker of Halloween, this spooky yet sultry choreographed performance tells the tale of a girl seduced by the undead. Originating in Phoenix, the show has toured across the U.S. and the U.K., evolving from what was once a 35-minute dance number to a 2-hour heart-stopping show. One of the larger changes in this year's production of A Vampire Tale will feature Gavin Sisson as Vampire King Victor, a part long held by Starry's husband, David, who retired from the male lead role after last season. Showtimes for Lisa Starry's A Vampire Tale are 8 p.m. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, October 2nd through 11th. Reserved seating ranges from $20 to $40. For more information and to purchase tickets, visit scorpiusdance.com/events. Don't worry, YouTubers, I will talk a lot more on that whenever we return for the rest of the recording. You've just listened to The Mourning Show. Now we're going to cry in a corner. We're signing off. Okay, YouTubers, so that was fun, wasn't it? I just made you deaf, didn't I? Rest in peace, headphone users. Sorry about that. But tonight was plagued by so many issues. It's terrible. So we're going to commence recording again maybe tomorrow. Sorry about that. Hope you guys all have a good night.